Have you ever looked at India's economy and felt like something just doesn't quite add up? Well, you're not alone. The government's own economic survey for 2025 points to this fascinating and kind of worrying puzzle right at the heart of the country's progress. So today, let's break down exactly what that puzzle is and what it means for the future.
So, what is this paradox all about? Well, the central theme is this really critical contradiction. You see, India's doing almost everything right according to the old economic playbook. The problem? The rest of the world has thrown that playbook out the window.
Okay, so check this out. It's like looking at two completely different report cards. On one hand, you've got India's domestic economy, which is getting a solid A+. I mean, we're talking real growth soaring past 7%, meeting tough fiscal deficit targets, and even getting 3 credit rating upgrades. That's fantastic, right? But then you look at the global reward for all that hard work, and it's a C- at best. The rupee's not doing great, global investors are kind of holding back, and we're seeing new trade tariffs pop up. It just doesn't make sense.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is the core diagnosis from India's own chief economic advisor. This quote says it all. India's best performance in decades has literally collided with a global system that's just stopped playing by the old rules. Getting good grades on your macroeconomics homework doesn't guarantee you anything anymore. The whole grading system has changed.
So that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If having a strong economy and solid fundamentals isn't enough to get the respect it deserves on the world stage, then what is going on? Let's dig in.
To really get what's happening with India, we've got to zoom out for a second and look at the world it's playing in. And that world, well, it's been completely rewired.
Put simply, the stable, predictable global economic system that we all got used to, yeah, that's gone. The new normal is basically a constant state of fragility and uncertainty where huge disruptive shocks aren't just a possibility, they're pretty much an expectation. And this slide, wow, it really lays out just how shaky things are. The report sketches out 3 possible futures for the world economy. Now get this, the best-case scenario with a 45% chance is called managed disorder. That's the best we can hope for. But right next to it, with an equally high 45% probability, is disorderly breakdown, a world where trade becomes a weapon. And then there's the last 10%, a chilling possibility of a systemic shock cascade, something that could be even worse than the 2008 financial crisis. Yikes.
And in this crazy, unstable new world, a specific problem for India comes into sharp focus. It's a challenge the report describes as the country punching below its weight.
These numbers here tell a really interesting story. At first glance, total export growth looks pretty solid, right? Averaging 9.4% since 2020. Not bad. But when you peel back the layers, you see that merchandise exports, we're talking actual physical stuff we make and sell, are lagging behind at just 6.4%. So clearly, something else is pulling all the weight.
And that something else is, of course, services. India's IT and business services are a huge global success story, and that's amazing. But the report makes a really crucial point here. As valuable as services are, they just don't build the same kind of deep strategic muscle for a country that a powerful manufacturing base does. Which leads to the obvious question, right? You might be thinking, hold on, if the money's flowing in from services, who cares? Why isn't that enough to give India the stability and influence it needs? Well, the answer, according to the survey, is basically rooted in economic history. If you look at the countries with the strongest, most stable currencies, the ones that can really take a punch in a global crisis, they've always been built on a foundation of manufacturing excellence. It creates this kind of national discipline and resilience that even a massive services boom can't quite replicate. And this whole situation, this mismatch, actually has a name: the power gap. It's the difference between how powerful a country should be based on its economy and how much influence it actually has on the world stage. And according to the Lowy Institute, India's power gap is the biggest in Asia. And that's not just an academic point. It means less say in global decisions that affect everything from our wallets to our security.
So the diagnosis is pretty clear. The world is different, and what worked for India in the past isn't going to be enough for the future. So the economic survey doesn't just point out all the problems, it actually proposes a completely new game plan.
This new playbook is built on 2 core ideas. And let me be clear, we're not talking about small adjustments here. This is a call for a fundamental strategic shift. The first part is about building what's called strategic resilience, and the second is about the government itself becoming an entrepreneurial state.
Okay, so let's break down that first idea. Strategic resilience is a major upgrade from the old concept of just being self-sufficient. The goal isn't just to make everything for ourselves anymore. The goal is to become so deeply woven into global supply chains, so essential, that the rest of the world literally can't afford for India to fail. It's a huge shift from playing defense to playing offense.
And this second pillar is just as radical. An entrepreneurial state is not a government that just sits back, sets the rules, and blows the whistle when someone breaks them. No, this is a government that acts more like a venture capitalist for the entire nation. It's proactive, it structures risk, it learns by trying things and sometimes failing, and it's obsessed with one thing: building real, tangible, national capability.
And that brings us to the conclusion of the survey, which is honestly less about specific policies and more about the fundamental mindset that's going to be needed to pull all of this off.
The survey uses this really powerful metaphor from the Upanishads to frame the choice that's in front of India. It's a choice between Priya and Shreya. Priya is the easy path, the fleeting comfort you get from quick fixes that solve today's visible problems. But Shreya is the enduring good. It's the harder path, the one that involves building real resilience and innovating relentlessly for long-term strength.
So, you see, at the end of the day, this whole thing isn't really about a single new policy or a new trade agreement. The real takeaway is the call for a new mindset, a fundamental shift in how everyone, from the government to every single business, approaches the future.
And the report leaves us with this one final image that just sticks with you. To win in this fragile new world, India needs the endurance to run a marathon, but it has to run that marathon with the explosive urgency of a sprint. It's a call to action that perfectly captures the huge journey ahead and the incredible danger of waiting even a moment longer.